was the Grand Prix?
It was fantastic.
Nigel had a good run.
Well,
very good for a while anyway. Must have been disappointing. Were you in the pits with him, or were you...
No, I don't go. No one goes near him while he's racing. It's such a big thing. I mean, he gets so much money, and he's on like a time thing, you know, for 48 hours before the race. And,
it's hard to get near him, I guess, in that case.
Huh? If he starts talking to me and chewing the few beers, I mean, no.
That's it for him.
Yeah.
Had you been? You were at the Montreal race last year at this time too, right?
No, I just missed it last year.
Oh, you missed it.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Because we had talked last year, and I wasn't
That's
sure
right,
whether you were at the race then too. Have you been to any of the other races this year so far?
Yeah. In Europe, yeah. We're very interested in how unpopular Formula One is in North America. It's strange.
Well, it tends to be.
It was empty, you know.
Yeah,
There's no one there.
Really?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, that's too bad.
It was like we couldn't believe. Well, I said to Nigel, look, there's a few interviews in that I've got to do in Canada. Ooh, you know what?
Yeah.
Let's all pop. He said, yeah. And I said, well, the trouble is I can't get away till Sunday morning. He said, well, if you get on Concord, blah blah blah, and I'll leave the tickets at so and so. And I said, no, it's not as easy as that, you know, because like in England, it takes you 7 hours, even by helicopter, to actually get from where you are. There's so many people. And I couldn't believe it. We got on Concord, we got the connecting flight, we landed in Montreal, we jumped in a taxi, we drove right up to the gates, got out, had a cheeseburger, decided where we wanted to sit, and that was it.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's very funny. Actually, it's funny because the kart series does really well in North America. I mean, there's Indy cars race in Toronto, and now in Vancouver. The first race was in Vancouver last year, and the Formula One race in Montreal stopped for a year. It ran last year, but it didn't run the year before because they had a sponsorship thing. But kart seems to be doing really well, which is disappointing for me personally because I really prefer the Formula One.
Do you really?
Oh yeah. Far superior, and I was pissed off because I missed the race this weekend. Not going there, but I even missed taking.
There's a whole Coca-Cola syndrome though to IndyCar racing, which
very much
is very unique to America. We were talking to Indy guys. It was very interesting. The two cultures, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, there is literally cultures, and they were saying that a lot of Indy fans wouldn't want to be down at the hairpin at Montreal because the cars were under 100 miles an hour, whereas you and I might sit there and every single car we would watch the technique of how they got the foot down earlier and outbraking each other and stuff. Yeah. The Indy fan would say, look, I paid $25, I want to see 200 miles an hour. You know what I mean?
Well, the Indy cars are kind of like stock cars without fenders, you know. It's still that same sort of mentality in North America. That's the way people handle them.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. You've switched cars yourself. Obviously, I'm looking at a Lotus Super 7 here, and last time you were here, we were talking about Ferraris and 12 screaming horses, and it's kind of a different approach for you.
This car, which actually gave the whole idea of Auberge and the guy from the Road to Hell escaping, in this car became very material in the whole album. Really, it's funny that a car should affect the instigation of an album, but it's such an individual car, and it's a cheap car. It'll beat a Ferrari 60-70 mile an hour. It's got no telephone. It's got no hi-fi. It's an out-and-out baby racer, you know, and it appeals to me a lot. And when I was writing the notes for the Auberge album, the idea is that the executive yuppie or whatever in the traffic jam sees this car, he buys it because it's cheap, and he escapes into France where there's no cars on the road. And it's Auberge is a weekend away from the Road to Hell. That's the whole idea of it, you know.
It is very much that. It's definitely more of an escape when I listen to the album. It's lighter, and that doesn't mean that Road to Hell was dark, because I love the imagery of Road to Hell. I love what that said, but this is an escape.
It's, to me, it's Auberge is not so much light against dark. It's that silent bit when the wind drops, you know, when there's a storm.
Yeah.
And it's that wonderful tiny piece where you don't know whether there's going to be an even bigger bolt of lightning or whether it's going to get sunny. It's that little pause, little resting spot for 48 hours, because, you know, I'm setting up for the third album, which decides whether he goes back to the Road to Hell. You know, this is an important. He's made his escape for the weekend, and he's looking at his life and he's thinking about it all. And it's going to be interesting to see where he goes next.
He has a lot to do with I suppose, in this. As far as Chris Rea.
There is a lot of me in it. But I say he because I've found, especially in Europe, obviously, where I've had this sort of slow but long success, that's resulted now in 3 million albums in Europe.
That's great.
Per release. And I say he because I feel quite alongside the people who buy my records, you know. So I say he so that myself and the audience can look at the guy and we can pick out the bits that they or I think are the bits of me or you. So it's I always say he so we can be very objective about it, you know.
Obviously, the sensitivity is still in this album as it was in Road to Hell too. You know, a track like Heaven gives me automatically, just in hearing that, I know it's a Chris Rea album, and even Auberge, the opening track, just the way it starts out, has the same feeling to it as well. How is it moving along for you? I've sensed, even from Road to Hell to this album, quite a refinement in your own playing, in your guitar playing. Do you feel the same way? As a composer, as a writer, as a player, you're moving towards something at this point in time? Yet I'm still seeing these touchstones with other things that you've done already at this point.
I would say he is moving towards something. I would even go further than that and say that he started to move forward. I know it seems silly after 12 albums, but my career has been a long, hard struggle against the commercial showbiz world as opposed to the musical world. And I've now eventually achieved, and only recently have achieved a freedom musically that I've never had before. You know, there was always a percentage of something and somebody saying, we want you to be commercially successful, like, and then mentioning somebody else. So in the beginning it was 99%, and I got it over the 80s, down and down and down, got more of my own way as the records started selling. We had a few hiccups. Now I've got my own. I'm in charge probably for the first time completely now. And this results in more unedited slide guitar, you know, which now doesn't sound any more like Joe Walsh and Raikuda, but it sounds like Chris Rea.
Oh, very much so.
Which,
if anything, I think that your voice is very firmly established in this album, and that's one of the things I sense, that there's more of a player profile in this than in Road to Hell.
Yeah.
And there's more in the way of orchestral embellishments too, with the horn sections that you've used in this album.
Well, I can only agree with that. I'm afraid.
Well, that's good.
I'm afraid you're overqualified as an interviewer.
That's funny. See, we write about innocence and we write about experience, and do you sense yourself being a poet who has an opinion on innocence and experience and anything in your background that might allude to that? Someone who has something different to say than what other people say around you.
I do think I've got something to say, and I do think I've got something different to say. And I also realise how easy it is to misunderstand Chris Rea, and that's something that's tough. That's tough cookies for Chris Rea. It's something I have to live with and just keep going on at. You know, when Chris Rea sing a song of love to me on the album, he is immediately accused by some journalists of going sentimental. There's nothing I can do about my voice, and that creates a mistake sometimes. If Randy Newman sing a song of love to me, you would all know exactly how sarcastic he was feeling, and the answer would be very sarcastic. And that is Chris Rea, and that is Chris Rea, the writer, writing that song. Unfortunately, the sound of Chris Rea's voice makes that song sound as if he wants you to sing a song of love, and it's a paradox against what is originally intended by the song. The song is meant to be really, really Walter Matthau sarcastic, you know.
So
it's like sing a song of love to me, but if I ever made a video of that, maybe it's after I've fallen over and dirtied my best suit, and a horse comes by and craps all over me. And as
good image.
Yeah, and as the horse licks me face and leaves a load of saliva down my face, I turn to the camera and sing a song of love to me. And that's how Chris Rea sees it. And unfortunately, because of this robust voice that I can do nothing about, a lot of people take it as being a full-blown sentimental love song, which it isn't.
So the delineation between sincerity and sarcasm is hard to pull out in your music, is what you're saying?
The sarcasm bit, when I'm really good at it, and I've pulled it off. You see, if Randy Newman pulls that off, people say, isn't that fantastic? You don't know whether he means it or not. But the very fact that he's not singing sort of with the Italian sounding voice, or the Irish Italian sounding voice, means that you know he doesn't mean it. He's just winding you up. Whereas with Chris Rea, you think, Jesus, he's singing a right old love song here, you know. Whereas really he's been sarcastic.
I understand that you're going to be touring at some point in time. Are you going to be coming here?
Well, it's eventually starting to happen in Canada. Now that everyone is not suspicious, now they know that this is not yet another Chris Rea launching. Now they know that he really doesn't need to be big in Canada. Things are looking better career-wise in North America. And we're even now talking about coming here and maybe doing a gig, you know, which is good. Because what's happened over the last 10 years is that the only way I can sum it up quickly for people listening, Chris Rea is allowed to do his own album sleeves for Europe, but he's not allowed to do his own album sleeve in America.
Oh.
Because as soon as it's the English fault, it's not the Canadians or the Americans. As soon as people start talking about USA and North America, they start talking about the big dollar, and they start getting greedy, ambitious, and all the PR men come out the woodwork, and all the hype comes out the woodwork, and music gets talked about less and less and less, and Chris Rea walks away. And that's what I've done all through the 80s. As soon as I see people getting serious about America again, I just walk away. I say, look, I either come over and I'm honest, and there's no hype, and there's no bull, or else I'm not going. And so far, they've never had the balls to let me come and just do it. Even the American record company didn't know what to do when we said we're coming over to Los Angeles and we're going to do a concert. And they were saying, don't, we're not ready, we need to line this, line that. I'm saying, look, I'm coming over, I'm going to do a concert, and I'm going home. And I did it just to prove a point, really.
When was this?
It was last year, and we got fantastic reviews. And there was no follow-through because they didn't know what to do. Because I wouldn't allow myself to be hyped up and do all them silly rock star photos and, all that business.
Yeah.
It's the music or nothing. That's what you get.
So what's the cover for this album look like over in England?
Well, this one they haven't been able to stop. This is why we reach yet another first, you see. Because they changed the Road to Hell album.
Oh, really?
For America, yeah. Why, I have no idea. I have no idea
why. What
why.
did it look like in England? Hard to describe, obviously.
The Road to Hell album sleeve in England was a long winding road with a family looking down it. And across the road there was a Ferrari, which represented the materialistic pleasures that laid at the end of the yuppie road. And there was like a white light, a blinding light that was shining at the end of this road. And in the sky there was a cube instead of a moon of Michelangelo's Judgment Day, which I thought was a nice touch. And the American album sleeve finished up being it was just a cube. No, it was just a cube. Yeah, you're looking at the imports.
It was blue in colour?
No, it was a big cube.
Oh, really?
Yeah, with a man flying on it. It was completely different.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I don't know why.
Yeah. So, I'm sensing from what you're telling me that you're kind of like the music equivalent of Formula One in North America. Which is not a bad metaphor.
Massive in Europe and not quite understood properly over here. No, I think the main thing we need to do in Canada and America is do what we did in Europe. And that is just come and play concerts.
Yeah. Well,
so,
I'd be there. I know a lot of people who would be there, actually, if you could do dates. That'd be
well,
great.
Like I say, we've actually come to the point now where we're actually even thinking about it. Yeah. So let's see what happens.
Are you writing new material for the next album?
Well, I'm writing all the time. I was just telling an earlier interview, which not a lot of people know, is that, for example, if someone had called for the new album 4 weeks either side of when they did, there probably wouldn't have been an album called Auberge. Because for me, I'm writing all the time, and when someone suddenly taps me on the back of the head and says, we need a new album, whatever I'm thinking of that week becomes the new album. And because I would get sick of it. I mean, if I write now and I throw them away, and I write next week and throw it away. If I wrote now and kept it, I would be tired of it by the time someone said, okay, we're ready for a new album. Because I literally do write every week. I like doing it. It's what I do for fun.
What's England like politically right now? Any change since Thatcher's gone?
Not really, no. I mean, there's just a lot of showbiz around at the moment. The Labour Party has made its showbiz move. It's all about strategy and showbiz, and not about what they should be doing anyway. I mean, for me, it's all complete bull,
It's taking on North America's stance then, obviously. It's a lot of what happens.
There's something strange I don't understand. And I visit countries like Switzerland, and, their system seems to be so much more logical. I cannot understand why two men can go on the television and discuss whether or not we should have hospitals. it absolutely stuns me.
Hmm.
I think it's outrageous. And what they've done in Switzerland is they said, okay, you boys, if you want to be power boys and power merchants, and you want to cut each other up on television, and you want to be famous and powerful, go and do it. But everybody's welfare should not be in question. There should always be enough police, fire, and hospitals. When you got that, then you can go and play, you know.
Yeah.
It just amazes me that people actually make it an issue about whether we should have a national health program or not. I mean, it's like saying, should we let people suffer and die? It's weird. It's beyond me.
Me too. What about the war? What was it like there for that?
Well, I suppose like everybody else, I had the same experience as everybody else. I remember the first night with absolute horror.
What started?
Yeah, and especially where we live, you know, every 12th to 15th night, the big freighters from the States fly out around about that time. And, you know, the Flying Tiger cargo things from Heathrow.
Mm-hmm.
So what had happened was, with me, it was one of those real freaks where I got a little bit of whiskey left in a glass, and my wife says, well, I'm going up to bed now. You say, okay. I'll look around, switch the fire off, finish the whiskey. And I switched the telly back on after sipping the whiskey to just check the time. And then just look at the clock. We've got this clock that loses every 3 days, you know.
Yeah.
And I just looked at it. And as I pressed it, they'd gone over. And there was that live CNN.
Wow.
Where they were bombing Baghdad. And it was frightening, you know, because none of us knew where it would end. You know, I mean, Saddam Hussein was quite an unknown quantity in British media. You know, the British media hadn't sold it as a walkover. They'd sold it as shit. You know, if we mix it with this guy, anything could happen. It's a bit like the beginning of Thunderbirds, you know.
Yeah.
Anything can happen in the next. And there was this sound of these droning 747s who were on limited thrust because it was late at night, going out, and there was this thing on the television, and it was like
putting two and two together.
Yeah, and it was like one of those real. I'm in the middle of a Pink Floyd horror movie. You know? I'm in the middle of Roger Waters' fucking Brainy, and I don't like it. Yeah, it was like as if he got you. Roger Waters had got you, and yeah, it was weird.
It was very funny here. I went home and sitting down watching the news at 6 o'clock, and five after 6.
Time for you.
Boom!
Yeah.
It was like they planned it to happen 5 minutes into the major network news packages. Like it was just unbelievable. Peter Jennings starts his stories, you know, American news feed starts his stories on ABC, and then boom, 2 minutes into it, it starts to happen. Very strange.
Yeah. Well, it was different for us. It was the middle of the night.
Yeah.
It felt as if we were all in air raid shelters, you know. I was stunned at the apathy, the public apathy. Really, they just turned a blind eye, you know. It was like all them things I talked about the road to hell, about where we were actually living sci-fi now, and we hadn't realised it.
Yeah.
You know, like the fact that kids now go to school miles away from where they live. The little glass tubes that were in the sci-fi things, they're not there, but they may as well be there.
Yeah.
How we all can't live without cars now. And there's now even a whole system of metropolis building that doesn't include if ever there should not be any cars. We'd all be fucked.
Mm-hmm.
We'd all be absolutely fucked. We live so far away from everything. And the road, the war, it really was a big panic on the first week when they wanted to know, A, will we get hurt? B, how's the pedal? Once it was established that the pedal could move through, for at least a year.
Yeah.
And then it was established that they could definitely have him within a year. They couldn't give a toss about the killing. They weren't bothered. People virtually just, boring, you know.
Yeah.
Boring Gulf news, you know.
It was very funny here. We saw things where they would do stories and they'd say, this is what happened when Vietnam was on. This is what's happening now. These are the differences between the two. Okay. These are the differences.
We're finished.
We're finished. We're just
Are you just
chatting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was trying
We're just being friendly to each other.
Okay.
So they would sort of say, this is what happened in Vietnam and this is what happened now. And I don't know whether you know the American history of what happened in Vietnam, but when Kent State, you know the shootings at Kent State? All of, you know what happened when those 4 students were killed at Kent State in Ohio? They showed a pro-war rally with these kids standing up on the caskets because the 4 students that were killed there are buried above ground in caskets on the Kent State University grounds. They showed a pro-war rally of kids standing on these caskets, like preaching the greatness of the war to all of these students at Kent State. It was just bizarre to see things like that, you know, and everybody was just like, give me a gun, I'm right in there. I want to be like a part of this in a big way. Very strange. Yeah, it was the road to hell.
The other thing that was very noticeable in Europe, which I found disgusting, was the anti-American thing was ridiculous. It had gone on to proportions of like the Germans were about the Jews.
Yeah.
You know, people were saying they're fucking Americans, and I'm saying, hang on. You know, and I'm saying, now you're listening to a man who doesn't sell records in America here.
Yeah.
I have no reason to stick up for them. I said, but let's get this in perspective, you know. You'd be fucked without the fucking guns. And let's fucking face up, you know.
Yeah.
And the Belgians, I mean, the Belgians refused to supply ammunition to the Americans. And they said it wasn't, you know, they weren't going to participate in, you know, kowtowing to the Americans. And then they complained that the Americans were getting all the building work afterwards. I mean, a lot of them Europeans are a real bunch of cunts.
Yeah.
The anti-American thing is without rationalisation. That's the only thing. Yeah, okay, America oversteps every now and then. It's got big feet, you know. But it's always apologising nowadays, isn't it? It's always saying, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to stand on your toes. But now it's this anti-American.